Hey everybody, I'm Bridget Lynn Dolgoff, Conscious of Economics and Urban Farm Project. Anyway, I'm out walking today. Me and the gin. She had like a rough time last night. 4th of July is always her like worst, period. Anyway, I was just kind of dealing with cranky people and people that are short and angry and abusive. Eventually it always comes out. And being a woman, I get tired of being patient and compassionate towards people who exhibit, abuse. And sometimes just exhausting. And so more and more, I'm kind of confronting it just because, I'm tired of being somebody, battering ram or their, placed event. So anyway, I'm leaving Facebook and I'm getting stuff set up on Discord to actually move over to Discord. And, Discord just is she jumped in the water. Discord is just seems more community oriented and people really want to help other people and share, really important types of information, all different kinds. So anyway, I'm moving over there just because I feel like, number one, a lot more supported, and number two, just kind of burned out on Facebook and just meanness. I'm just burned out on meanness, paranoid. People just can't, seem to have their life the way they want it, and they just get abusive after a while. And the thing is, like, I don't really care, but I'm not gonna take snide comments or minimizing or belittling tactics, which I call predatory. I'm moving away more from predatory behavior. That's kind of like what I call it. But yeah. Anyway, seems like more and more people are, even the conscious ones are kind of blowing up. So I was just thinking a lot about, we have a tendency to, be stuck in our reality. And nothing is stuck. That's the part that's, the most obvious. So you have the river flow. And, the river will move around rocks and the bank and trees and plants differently through every season, maybe even every week or every day. No matter how much we dam up the river, upstream, it still moves constantly. And it rises and declines, covers, eventually recedes. And, everything in nature is that way. These plants, will have, no leaves. Then they grow leaves. A seed lands on the ground. It gets roots. Then, it builds whatever it's going to build, long-term, short-term, annually, changes form constantly. But we humans, we don't like to change form. And we're like constantly living in the past. So, I have a 30-year mortgage. Well, you're living in the past because your past precedes the moment, and then you're stuck in the future in a repetitive cycle that will not change. You're not flowing and ebbing like a river, even if, you are dammed up to a certain extent. But we're really taught how to, press our heels down and resist. Resist the trail. We even resist, like, the action and the movement of, going downhill. And, come here. Right here. Hold on, I have to check to see what's going on. But I've just been thinking a lot about, people, reason why they're drinking and they're medicated is because they can't cope. And they're stuck and they don't want to move forward because they don't want to have to look at or deal with the options in that moment of, the thought, the emotion, physical action may be necessary, to like move forward. Come here. Here, let's go over here. I hear somebody yelling over there, but anyway, somebody else is coming down the trail. Come here, here. Come here. Come on, right here. So hold on, I'm just getting Jen kind of squared away. Sit down. Stay. Anyway, so I was just thinking about that. About how, we're like, that we're stuck. We keep doing, the same thing every day with no ebb and flow. There's no change. And then, we wonder why nothing works. I mean, even if Spirit wanted to try to, move you forward, you couldn't go because you're just so totally stuck and you're not even living in the moment. And then you're fear and paranoid because, the way you've been trained to do things doesn't work anymore. Going to the 9-to-5 job for, 20 years, not guaranteed a pension. And then you're stuck in, what do I do next? And then you're like, well, it's easier to just be unhappy, in fear, addicted, alcohol, drugs, shopping, eating, instead of actually moving forward. It takes, I've been thinking about this lately, about how much energy on so many different levels is required to stay stuck, because everything is moving, everything recedes, declines, except for us. We seem to think that we can beat that system. And then, what I see a lot in healthcare is people hit about 40, 45, and if you haven't dealt with your issues by then they're really staring you in the face. And everything around you is trying to get you to move forward. But you're not going to move forward. You're going to stay stuck. And then you're going to exhibit anger towards, over here, come on. Everything and everyone around you. as if, they're the reason, why you're stuck. And you're stuck regardless of what's happened to you, because your self, your mind, your body, your spirit, your emotions are still living in the past and haven't really been brought to the present moment in order to be looked at and dealt with in a sober way. And then you can move and bypass around it. So I'm just kind of thinking, a lot about watching people, being stuck and how they exhibit, their emotional responses to that being stuck, and that how they deliver the pain, frustration, towards others in that stuckness, And it goes back to, what Albert Einstein said. We keep doing the same things over and over again and expecting a different result. The definition of insanity. And, the thing is that we're insane. Because we don't live in the 4 seasons. We don't live, actively in the co-creation that was established for us to teach us, when it's time to, put our roots deeper into the ground, and when it's time to grow leaves, when it's time to sprout seeds and travel out, share information, when it's time to protect our community that we're growing in, right, and the other plants, and, giving them what they need and us getting what we need in that community. When we have to hunker down because drought has come. And, in some cases, even in flooding conditions, in a plant community, you have to have a whole bunch of other skills as well that may need to come out, or you evolve into, that, comes into, how you're going to deal with your environment or not deal with your environment. I look at a lot of the trees, that I see dying, and I think about, they're like the Zen Buddhists, and they can't run away and escape, the chemtrails or the radiation or the economic collapse or the flood or the drought or any of these things, and they just take it all in. And they just express themselves and live in the moment. And, if they go into the sleep cycle and all their sap goes down into the ground, then, when it's time for that, they'll know. And they'll do it. And then when it's time to awaken again in the winter. And the thing is like, sometimes plants have, defense mechanisms in place to help with, bug infestations or things that are moving in, and sometimes they don't. When they're having to deal with something new, right, that they haven't dealt with before, a new plant that has seeded itself in its environment from a totally different land, they bring that plant into their community. And they work with it, and it gives them other information, maybe, from England or from here or from there. And sure, those plants can be a lot more aggressive, or, what we would consider, invasive. But they're also learning about things in this environment, and they're teaching our plants something from their environment. Which is not something that humans are really good at. Like I can think of racism, abuse, having no communication skills, us, against them mindset. And, like I remember in high school where we learned to rival, we had rivals, and especially in sports, there was a huge amount of fighting going on. That's why I look at sports as, one of the ultimate mind control programs out there, because it makes us predatory. It makes us aggressive, and it teaches us aggressive behavior. Winning matters. Well, the thing is like winning, is like a bully tactic. And I'm right and you're wrong, and there's no conversation about it. And hey, let's physically fight about it. And then you see, you get in your 40s and you can see how everybody's played that out. And they're usually either totally stuck and angry and alcoholism, eating addictions, shopping addictions, consuming to keep those, feelings from surfacing, because the people don't really know how to deal with it in any other constructive way. And so then they just try to hold on, so they can retire. And that doesn't work. Either, people lose their jobs or whatever else and don't learn or build, new skills in order to, carry them to the next period of time in the present moment. And they give up, they fall apart, they decompress, they go into depression, and, they fall victim to homelessness and a lot of other things because they don't really have the skills to operate a new system. And then you have those that, feel smug about the fact that, oh yeah, well, I'm still working at the same job, and oh yeah, I get my, 6 weeks of vacation. But meanwhile, I'm sick and unhealthy because I have a food addiction, I have a shopping addiction, I'm a hoarder. Oh, and I drink profusely as well. And nobody says anything to me about these behaviors. And then I retire and die. So, those are kind of like the two, paths that I see in America based on our programming. And so anyway, I was just thinking a lot about that today. About, right here, come here. Just thinking a lot about that, about, what I see. I have to monitor the stuff in my own self because I have people that are around me that are really stuck. And they start emotionally, lashing out at themselves as soon as they wake up. And I remember, like this, thing with Carolyn Meese, something that I tell a lot of my clients. It was really profound. And so Carolyn Meese, did these, I listened to them when they were tapes, and then I listened to them when they were CDs. Come on, let's go. Come on, let's go. Come on, over here. And then I don't know where they're at now, but you could probably buy them used or however else. But it's lectures, like, I don't know, hours and hours of lectures on Energy Anatomy by Carolyn Meese, M-Y-S-S. It was super groundbreaking work that came out in 1992. She was a journalist and then started seeing, colors in people's fields, and then started noticing why people were sick and why people healed, and then started consulting people as a medical intuitive. And that's like the work that I do. I'm registered internationally with the Medical Intuitive Association. But mine principally comes from a place of shamanism and my work that I've studied from other people, and then also, my family line work. And the thing that sucks is, sometimes you have to fit into other people's vocabulary because there's limited vocabulary, and I really hate that. It's probably why a lot of people don't really, kind of understand my work, because I, eventually went out and started creating my own vocabulary. Okay. I don't want to ride the backs of other people, and I don't want to have their definitions and terminologies. I'd like to have my own. And because my work is my own after years and years and years of building, what I do. Anyway, so one of the things that Carolyn Meese, was very clear about in the energy anatomy work was that, hold on, I gotta dump a poop bag. Awesome. Ooh, there's a foam pad. Oh, it's kind of a nice foam pad. Oh well. Oh well, I'm not gonna dig in the garbage. I don't touch things that don't belong to me. Okay, because bad juju and bad juju energy. Okay, so we'll just go ahead and finish this conversation here in the car. Yep, I'm lucky somebody lets me use a car, so, because my van, I still have gotten no funds on GoFundMe to, fix my van, so anyway, so I kind of, have to do other things. I'm going to open the windows so that I can sit here. Okay, let's see if I can plop that baby right there so you can, see me. Okay, so that I can finish this whole thought process. And, So anyway, so Carolyn Meese talked about how, a major thing that she would see in people is basically a misuse of their power or their energy, and how they were energetically bankrupt. And this is a very shamanism type thing, where you're not generating enough power to live and have longevity. And the way that I look at it when I work with people, especially people who are sick, because one of the things I do for people while they're trying to get well in an alternative way is I do fills. I do, energy sphere fills, so that they have enough energy to actually work on things to actually get well. Because what happens is that your whole energy field is so punctured with holes by the time you get to a certain age that it's leaked out all of your energy, and then it's like saran wrap, and it starts to wrap around your body and suffocate you. So, energetically, you don't die, of disease or anything else. You die because of energetic asphyxiation of your energy body that has actually, wrapped around you and is suffocating you to death, because it has like no energy to run, because it's the main power generator. And so most people are not skilled with how to generate power, how to reclaim their power, and manage, the power that you have. And so, so there's lots of shamanism techniques on generating power and, reclaiming power and doing, a lot of this kind of stuff. So Carolyn Meese kind of put it like this. Every day, we'll put it into a money term. Every day, the universe gives you, $200 in the morning before you wake up. And that's your money, energy, power to run your whole physical system through the whole day. That energy, I'm going to add some stuff in, goes right into your energy sphere. And then that's like the bank, right? You get the transfer into your energy sphere, which is like the bank. And then your systems can utilize that currency, resource, money. Sometimes you can generate through energetic barter and trade. That's a much bigger scale. And so basically, then what happens is that, by the time you reach a certain age, you're already in the negative. Your bank accounts are, zero, and you're trying to keep them, out of the red by getting little deposits to try to stay afloat. But because you don't understand energetics and how this whole operates, what you do is you go out and you threaten somebody else, or you make statements towards somebody else, or you're abusive. And this, for temporary moment, steals energy from that other person that you get to feed off in your sphere. So, but you did it by puncturing them. You did it by puncturing their sphere, and then started to suck like a vacuum. And so this is where like energy vampire comes from, but people don't really realize like everybody does it. Because you haven't really learned any other skills on how to manage your energy bodies, and you're desperate. Your primitive system called your body and all the systems are desperate, and they need energy and power. And since you're not recreating it, and you're not going through the process of reclaiming your old energy that you lost to people who punctured your sphere, or things that punctured your sphere, you start to act out in a physical way using the same techniques that people have done to you to siphon off energy out of their fields. So, you get about 30 years old and you start to, you're falling, more and more into the red line economically, which is, power, energy, right? Because we're talking about energy and power in your sphere that helps to generate everything that you need in your physical body so that you can, do the things in this world that you need to do in order to take care of yourself and have health. So Carolyn Meese says, like what'll happen is like it'll get to the point where you no longer get that $200, dollars worth of credit every morning in your energy field. You're so depleted that what's happening now is that you've borrowed to the future. So you've borrowed the energy, like out of your tissues, out of your bones, osteoporosis. You've borrowed the energy out of your sight, your eyes. You borrowed the energy out of your teeth, right? And you've borrowed the energy out of your hips, joints. You've borrowed it out of your shoulder joints. You've borrowed it out of your heart, your gallbladder, your liver, your thyroid. And because there isn't anything left in your energy field, to run those systems. So you've borrowed against, everything that you have on all levels. So you start to get, serious problems happening in those fields. And then you become desperate. And then you start to act out and behave in ways that other people acted out and behaved towards you. And then you continue the cycle of, puncturing other people's spheres, damaging their, energy, power generators to get just enough, that you can siphon off into your field so that you can keep your